Alex Hormozi and others always say you're wasting too much time, but how do you really know how much time you can get back from that wasteful activity? I'm going to show you right now how to make this Google Sheet to track your time that you can use at your desk, on your phone, or tablet anytime, day or night, no matter where you are. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how much time is productive and how much time isn't, so that you can get more out of each and every day. But I promise, if you watch the whole video, you'll also know up to 13 tricks in Google Sheets that will take you from a beginner Google Sheets user to intermediate level. Don't get discouraged by a blank sheet. Google Sheets is like a puzzle or kitchen. All the parts are in there, but we need to put it together. We'll put each step to our recipe into the form of a question to make it easier and go step by step. The first thing we need to do is create in Google Sheets a way to identify time. So, how to do a fill series in Google Sheets. To create a series in Google Sheets, use the autofill feature. Here, I'm going to enter time 12 a.m. and 12:15 a.m. to create a 15-minute partition. These will be the first two values of my series. Next, I will select the two cells and drag the fill handle, the small square in the bottom right corner, to fill the remaining cells. This will automatically continue the series based on the pattern I've established. To get a whole day, I will work this series down to 11:45 p.m. So now that we have a full day in 15-minute increments, and there is your first ingredient. But how does Google Sheets calculate time? We want to calculate time and give Google Sheets math it can use to calculate parts of a day. So I am going to create two full columns and then subtract column C from column B. This will return a time in column D. But if I format the cell to percent, I'll notice that every 15 minutes is 1.4% of a day. So time in Google Sheets is calculated as a fraction of a day, or a percent of a day. We've got a good start to our worksheet, but let's add some headers to understand each column: start time, end time, percent of day, and every day of the week, which we will center and underline. Formatting is like icing on the cake. It makes everything look better and adds a lot of flavor. To continue our Google Sheet to track time, we need some categories to bucket our time into. So, how do you create a data validation list in Google Sheets? When you are collecting data, like what you spend your time on, you will want to choose your categories wisely. We have work, family, sleep, chores, Netflix, social media scrolling, getting ready for work, and getting ready for bed. This is a good start for me, and now I want to set up data validation so that I can only use these options when tracking my time. Follow along step by step. To set up, click on the Data menu, then choose Data Validation. A window will open up on the right side of the screen titled Data Validation Rules. In the middle, you will notice Criteria. Click the box below and select Drop-down from a range. A pop-up window will display. Select the range, N6, N13, and click OK. The list will populate on the right. Now, we need to extend the data validation to the rest of the schedule. Click on Apply to Range and select all the cells that data validation is required. We'll title the data validation list, List of Choices, and format the title and column a bit. Now, for each of these cells, you are allowed to only use the list of choices. These will be our time buckets. The easiest way to understand time is to sum the time into buckets. So our next question is, how to use SUMIF formula in Google Sheets. To calculate the amount of time I spend in each category requires a common formula. The SUMIF function in Google Sheets allows you to sum values within a range of cells that meet a specific condition. It takes three main arguments: the range to check for the condition itself, the criteria, and the range to sum. Here you will see the range as column I, Wednesday, and each cell in the column relative to the time of day, I5 to I100. The criteria is going to be the representative category I want to sum. In this case, work, N6. The sum range will be the amount to sum, or the percent of day, which is D5 to D100. The result returns 35%. How is your comfort with formulas like this? Join the conversation and let us know. We need to use this formula for each category and day, but how do I keep a cell reference from changing when I copy a formula in Google Sheets? Here we want to copy the formula to each cell down the list of categories and to each day of the week. But if we try to copy the formula as I wrote it down and across, the formula won't work in the other cells. I rarely get it right the first time. It's easy to fix. But first, a little vocabulary here for beginners. Relative referencing means the cell reference in a formula moves or changes when you copy it to a new cell. But absolute referencing means the cell reference does not change when you copy or move the formula. You lock the cell for absolute referencing using the string or dollar symbol. We want to use a combination of both relative and absolute referencing in this formula. For each day, we want the range column letter to change as we copy the formula while the row numbers stay the same. For the criteria, we want to keep the column letter N, but we want the row number to move. But we want the percent of day range to always be the same. So we want a dollar before the column letter and row number. So for this SUMIF formula to work, we need strings on the row for the range, a string on the column for criterion, and strings or dollar signs on the columns and rows for the sum range, like this. Then we can copy this formula to the rest of the cells in the table. As we add categories to the schedule, we can see the amounts increase from 0. Make sense? We need totals next, so how to sum in Google Sheets? Let's complete this portion of the schedule by creating totals. In cell O6, enter the formula equals sum, open parentheses, P6 colon V6, close parentheses, divided by 7. This will add P6, Q6 all the way down to V6, and then divide the sum by 7. Or the formula will sum the work category for every day of the week, with the divide by 7 reducing the sum to a daily average. Now we will copy and paste that down to get a daily average for each category. The decimal result shows up, so let's format the cell to percent by clicking the percent button and the reduce decimals button. But we will also total each day to make sure we have 100%, as we'll show later. So let's add a total here and enter a sum formula again, but this time more simple. In cell O17, fill in equals sum, open parentheses, O6 colon O16, close parentheses, and hit enter. Did you notice that Google Sheets auto-populated the range and I just hit tab to accept? Now on cell O17, hit Ctrl plus C to copy and select the cells to the right and hit Ctrl plus V to paste. We'll add a border here to view the total easier. Let's fill in some of these times. How do you copy with a data validation list? My middle-aged self isn't expecting to be awake from 10:30 to 5 a.m. So in cell F6, let's select sleep and copy and paste when I plan to be asleep. On cell F6, hit Ctrl plus C or right-click and select copy. Then select ranges in the data validation range and hit Ctrl plus V or right-click and select paste. We'll do this at the end of the day too. Copying and pasting with data validation is easy, but I like using the shortcut keys. You could also just right-click to copy, then select the cells to paste, and then right-click paste. How do you convert percent of day to hours in Google Sheets? Now we have percent of day, but what if I want to know how many hours I spend in each category per week? I'll add a column and title it Total Hours, because I want to know how many hours per week I spend at each activity. But how do I convert percent of a day or a week into hours? This is unconventional, but in cell 07, I'll enter the formula equals P6 times, open parentheses, 24 times 7, close parentheses. This makes sense to me and will convert the percent per day into average hours per week. Once we change the format to number and copy down, it will make more sense. If we were working with 1 day, we wouldn't need to multiply by 7. Now we can see that I have 46 hours of my week filled in. But how do I add categories to a drop-down list in Google Sheets? I want to add errands, shopping to my category list. But you may also want to add your own categories. The best way to do this is to insert a row into the middle of the list. So I'll add by highlighting the space I want to add and right-clicking on the range and select Insert Cells. Then Insert Cells and Shift down. In the list of words, I'll add the category, then copy and paste the formulas from row 12 to row 13. But the nice thing about Google Sheets is the complete flexibility to do what you want. If one of my categories isn't right for you, just rename it. Formatting can really help to further explain the story in Google Sheets. So many people will want to know, when they see all this data, how to add color in a data validation list. I want to highlight where I have perceived wasted time. For me, that is Netflix and social media scrolling. So if I didn't have the data validation rules open, I could click the data menu, then select data validation. But since I have it open, I can just click on the rule I have set and open up the customization. Here you can see the category list. From here you can select the category, specifically the arrow to the right of the circle, and change the color of that category. I'll change Netflix and social media to this light orange color so it highlights the extra time I have available in my week. As you see here, the colors automatically change throughout the worksheet. You can use more colors to really understand your week. Add colors for family or driving if you want to highlight how much they fill your week. Now let's take a minute to format the schedule so it is more readable. And while we are doing that, why would I even want to track my time for a week? Alex Hormozi recommends logging your activities over a week to pinpoint time-wasting patterns. By reviewing this log, you can identify distractions and set boundaries to prevent them from recurring. This proactive approach helps in focusing on tasks that truly matter. How much time do you think you waste each week? Join the conversation and share your experience. I think the other reason too, if you look at a day, you're like, I just don't have any time in my day. But if you look at it over a week, you can actually see moments of your days that turn into hours in any given week that you can use productively. So let's continue on and see how that works. Okay, let's get back to learning Google Sheets. And how do you make rows collapsible in Google Sheets? Many of the hours in my day are the same. The easy time blocks are all hours sleeping. I want to group these so that I can toggle them expanded and collapsed to make it easier to read. To make rows collapsible, I first have to select the range of cells to collapse. Then click on the View menu, then hover over Group, and here I'll copy rows 25 to 44. You can also use the shortcut key Alt plus Shift plus right arrow. A box with a minus in it appears with a vertical line beneath it to the right. Click the box to collapse the rows. Let's do it again with rows 113 to 119, and again with rows 60 to 88. Select the View menu, hover over Group, and select the grouping. Do you like this applied format of learning Google Sheets while building worksheets to help you in your day? If you do, subscribe today for more videos like this. The magic of Google Sheets is that when you are on the go, you can use your mobile device. How do I use a drop-down list on my phone? One of the best features of Google Sheets is how it works on mobile devices. I'm going to track my days as they occur to see where my time is spent and how the schedule works on my phone and on my laptop. To do this, open the Google Sheets app on your phone. You'll see I've got mine on the screen. To fill in a category, just tap on the cell and select from the list of items below. On my laptop, you can see the cells filling in real time. This really shows the mobile and collaborative nature of Google Sheets. Now that I have the data filled in for the whole day, I want to double check my work. Why do I only have 69% of my day filled out above, but every cell is filled in below? Or what most people ask is, how do I troubleshoot Google Sheets? I'll expand my groupings to make sure everything is filled in. All the data is entered, but let's check the formula. To check the formula, I like to select the cell and then hit F2 to edit the cell. This action causes Google Sheets to highlight the ranges and cells used in the formula. In this formula, I can see that the criteria is family. Let's scroll down and see the range. It doesn't go all the way down. But the sum range on the left appears to be selected correctly down to row 116. So to fix this, I'm going to extend the range down to row 116. But I also have to correct all the other cells in this table for everything to work. So I'll copy the corrected cell and then go to Sunday, work E6, and highlight to K17 and paste special formulas. Now Wednesday is correctly filled out and I can trust the other days are correct too. This is why totals are important for cross-checking your work. Let's update this schedule a little. I've decided to add a category for meals. We're going to add a pie chart in a bit, but how are you following along? So far, have you nailed it? If you don't have this sheet built well, don't worry. Read our video description to learn how you can get a copy of this Google Sheet for your use today. Why is it helpful to track your time like Alex Hormozi? Alex Hormozi is right. You need to track time to understand where you can adjust your behavior to become more productive. While we speed through most of the data entry to show you how you can use mobile horizontal and in night mode, but more to show you that I tracked my time daily to really understand if I'm wasting my time. There is something to successful people. One of those things has to be that they use their time more productively than others, and I think that I can do better. I've been working on this video for a couple of weeks, and to know that I have 8 hours in my week that are wasted on consumption has changed my life. I work every morning to prevent or limit my scrolling habit to wake up. I'm also choosing to reduce my Netflix time, or at least do something productive while watching Netflix. Even an extra 4 hours per week will change my life, and I am going to continue to track my time to stay vigilant against zombie consumption. But you really can't see where to action until you can visually see the results. So, how do you make a pie chart in Google Sheets? So now that all of our data is filled in, and we know where I have spent my week by category, one of the best ways to represent time is with a pie chart. To create a pie chart, click the Insert menu and select Chart. A box will show up that says Add a Series to start visualizing your data, as well as a chart editor to the right of the screen. The first thing to do is change the column chart to a pie chart. Next, let's select the data using the data range and selecting the 4-square box below and to the right. A window will appear. Select the categories and total hours columns and click OK. Pie charts can't get much easier than that. But how do I format a pie chart in Google Sheets? Now that we have the pie chart created, we can format to make it look better. I'm going to select Use Row 5 as headers to lock in list of choices and total hours. Next, to set up, I'm going to select Customize. Here you can see different options. I can change the background color. Let's choose gray. I can also change the chart border color. Select the arrow below chart border color, and let's change the border to red. The pie chart is flat, but let's check the 3D option to see what changes. 3D almost always looks more professional. Other options are next. You can even change the color of each slice of the pie chart. Work is blue, but Netflix is orange. You can pull out a slice of the pie by adjusting the distance from center. Let's see what 25% looks like. My other waste is social media scrolling, so let's pull that out. We can also adjust the borders by left-clicking on the box and expanding or contracting the box. Let's title the pie chart Weekly Time and center it using the title format buttons. I can also change the title color using the title text color feature like this, and I can bold. I can also move the legend. But did you notice I lost the original legend format a while ago? Which do you prefer? You can see I can also bold and italicize the legend as desired. Let's put the 2 slices back into the pie by using the distance from center. How to rearrange pie chart slices in Google Sheets. Did you know you can rearrange the slices in Google Sheets? I'd like to put Netflix next to social media scrolling, but this isn't done in the chart editor. To move the slices in Google Sheets, you have to rearrange the categories in the worksheet. So I'm going to move the social media row by inserting a row above exercise and cutting and pasting the social media row into row 11 and deleting row 17. Now we will change the legend back to labeled and see that social media scrolling is next to Netflix on the pie chart. So now with this pie chart, you can see how much time I sleep, how much time I work, and the other categories in my day. From here, you can really understand, now that you've got a full experience, what productive time you have in your week and what wasteful time you have in your week. And you can make choices like Alex Hormozi to use the time in your day and your week more effectively. To learn more Google Sheets, watch this video next.